It's 9 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The Board of Leavenworth County Commission. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start with a moment of silence. Roll call. Commissioner Cos is here, Commissioner Smith's here, and Commissioner Culberson is here. I'd like to open up the public comment portion of the meeting. Anyone from the public wishing to speak can come forward and state your name. Seeing none, we'll close public comment portion and move on to administrative business. Mr. Lofgren.
Just a couple of items. We will be sending out the notice to the historical societies throughout the county that we're opening up the grant application process for this year. As you remember, may recall the board budgets $50,000 each year towards those grants, and then we take applications through May 1st, and then we'll bring them to the board for consideration in the middle of May. So that'll be going out. The clerk will be handling that. And then I think we also have a board order today for the commission to consider. It's a budgetary transfer of funds from the Register of Deeds Tech Fund. So it's budgeted and we can proceed with it, but the Register of Deeds did ask for a board order, so that'll be for you to approve today too.
Okay.
It's a board order for the $40,000 that she takes from the tech fund into the BOCC Equipment Reserve Fund, which is used aerial photos. Departments use it. You know, Jeff can speak to that. GIS has used quite a bit of that money in the past, and so.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is the Alcohol and Drug Council did on January 17th put in the paper that it was now time to apply for grants through the money that the county receives through the Special Alcohol Fund. A lot of times, as you know, in the past, the schools apply for funding for their after prom or after graduation parties. The Youth Association here in Leavenworth applies for money for the summer program. The YMCA also applies. This year we do have a new applicant down in the city of Tonganoxie. That they're opening up a youth center, so they will also be applying for that grant. The grant closes on February the 28th, and at that time the council does meet and award the applicants, and then once that's done, Pat Barnhart and her team do come up and do a presentation to the board for the money that will be expended out of the Special Alcohol Fund.
Is there a cap on the amount can be
there
applied
is,
for?
I believe $5,000 is the cap on what you can apply for. There again, that money is allotted due, like, for instance, the schools may receive $1,000 because it's a one-night educational experience, because any of the money that's allotted has to be used for educational purposes for drug and alcohol prevention.
So can churches that have programs for youth, are they eligible to apply for this?
I did specifically speak with the gentleman yesterday from the city of Tonganoxie about the requirements, and yes, he can apply, and yes, he would be eligible for money towards his program.
Just so an organization has a youth program.
That teaches education on, you know, drug and alcohol prevention.
Yes,
and of course that would.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but I just wanted to bring that up due to the fact that we have started getting some phone calls on the application period.
Okay. And the 28th is the deadline for applications.
That's right, 28th of February.
All right. And did we need to move forward with the resolution, you said, or?
No.
Okay.
It was just informational purposes. The one thing that I did hand Becky this morning was the board order. So if we would go ahead and make a motion for board order 19-1 for the approval of moving $40,000 from the BOCC, or from the ROD Tech Fund to the BOCC Equipment Reserve Fund.
I'll make a motion. You want me to repeat that, or do you got that? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve that ROD Tech Fund.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on transferring the money? Voting?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Is that it for
That's it for administrative.
I was at the Linwood City Council meeting when we're talking about applying for funds and that. Are they, on their money that we had gave them for the community building, do they have to pay that and then come here and get a check, or can they just submit a bill and get a check?
Well, the funds were budgeted for this year for the improvements for their community building. Typically, they would have the expense and we would reimburse them to document that they have that expense, but the board has the ability to give them money up front if you choose to.
Okay.
If it creates problems for them funding-wise, then we can certainly work with them.
Well, I mean, if they haven't submit a bill, I mean, the board doesn't have to approve that.
No, it's budgeted.
So they could submit a bill and get a check issued if the contractor will say wait the 30 days, or if it's a large amount, do an early issue. Is that possible?
Yeah, you know, since we cut checks every week,
Okay.
I don't think it'd be a problem getting them paid on a timely basis.
Well, I'm sure anybody that performs work for a city understands they just don't have a checkbook sitting there to write you a check when they're done.
Sure, and they're usually pretty good at paying the bills.
Yeah. So, anyways, but they are moving right along on that building, so everything's good. Okay. Have commissioners had a chance to look at everything in the consent agenda?
Yes.
Have any questions
Nope.
or anything on the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion then to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion on any items? Seeing none. Voting?
Aye.
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 Okay. We ready for our discussion on the Association Defense Communities, Kansas County Commissioners Association also?
I guess so.
Commissioners, you recall a few weeks ago, these were on the agenda. You asked for a little more time to look into them and think them over, so we put them back on this agenda for your consideration, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think I was the one that asked to give it a couple of weeks, and I looked into it a little further, talked to some more people. I was hoping some people would come forward in the last 2 weeks, but I haven't really heard a lot. I think it's one of those things where we're going to have to start narrowing down what's more important to spend our money on. And the city of Leavenworth is already a member of this, so I think if any local people needed to use any of the benefits in this, they could go through the city of Leavenworth to do it. I'm all for keeping communication with Fort Leavenworth in any way, shape, or form. I know they're very important to us. I just don't see that an expenditure on this particular item is necessary, at least at this time. If somebody comes forward, in the future and says, hey, it'd be nice if you guys were a member of that for some particular reason, then we could look at it at that time. But I think for right now, it's just not something we need to do.
That's fine with me.
Yeah. And the Kansas County Commissioners Association.
And while we're talking about it, I looked into that too, and I didn't see any additional benefits that we're not already getting through the Kansas Association of Counties. Everything is very similar to KAC, so again, I don't think this is something we need to spend our money on right now.
And that was a discussion we had last year. So, do you have any, you're okay with?
I'm okay either way.
Okay. Well, I mean, they do have a couple conferences. One in the spring, one in the fall. Like I said, the KAC I think is very important.
Yeah.
And I think, like Public Works belong to Kansas County Highway Association. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of with you.
Yeah, I think as long as we remember KAC, we don't really need to be KCCA.
Well, I don't think this requires any action. Unless, we change our mind in the future or somebody comes and gives a presentation. I believe there'll probably be somebody in the near future coming to talk to us about National Association of Counties, the NACE, or NACO. What word set that off?
They're really-
Use them.
I think it was NACO.
NACO sets it off. Okay.
Yeah, I think NACO is something we need to look into. And I'm actually getting some information together on that.
Right.
Bring to you guys.
I met with a guy last Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays ago, out of Topeka. So I told him we'd probably invite him up for a presentation.
Okay, yeah.
I'll get with him.
Okay.
But anyways, okay, so we can move right along to the presentations from the elected officials and department heads. I believe the sheriff is the first on the docket.
Morning, Andy.
Good morning.
Sheriff, how are you today?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
All right.
Oh, which one's live here?
Both should be.
I think the whole room's hot.
It is.
A little hot today.
Previously, I've met with each of you individually, and we've gone over a lot of the duties of the office and what we do, responsibilities, that type of thing. So I'll just kind of give a recap of some of the highlights of the sheriff's office. In large, sheriff is elected official every 4 years by the entirety of the county. It is my pleasure to serve as the sheriff of Leavenworth County. It's a high honor and one I take very seriously. It's one that the responsibility we try to pass down to everybody who works in the sheriff's office, and I think it's something that everybody takes seriously. The duties and responsibilities of the sheriff's office are by and large statutorily based. They are found in Chapter 19, Article 8 of the Kansas statutes annotated. That's where my authority to act comes from. As an office, an overview, 2018 was a year of transition in that in March of that year, we inherited 3 other departments that fell under the roof of the sheriff's office, that being JDC, Juvenile Community Corrections, and Emergency Management. In January this year, it was decided that Community Corrections piece of it is a better fit to transition back to adult community corrections the way it was several years ago. So that was completed at the end of January. So As of right now, of the 3 that transitioned under the sheriff in March of 2018, 2 remain, that being juvenile detention and emergency management. We have a total workforce currently of 126 individuals with 8 vacancies. The vacancies consist of 4 detention officers, which continues to be the most difficult to recruit for, 1 dispatcher, which remains to be the most difficult to train, 2 nurses, and a new part-time position for animal control. Probably the best way to get a total understanding of the sheriff's office, what it is that we do and how we operate, is to participate in the Citizens Academy. It's something we started this year. Will be the 5th Citizens Academy. It is open to the public. We encourage anybody with any interest to participate. Typically it's 8 to 10 week class. It is in depth, it's hands-on, and I think it's fair to say that when you leave the class, you have a much better understanding and appreciation for what the Sheriff's Office does for Leavenworth County. Last year we had our first high school student complete it. We are still waiting for our first county commissioner to come complete it, so the invitation is open to 3 of you. As far as the operations, I'll talk about dispatch for a little bit because it's a crucial operation within the Sheriff's Office. As you're aware, we provide dispatch services to everybody in the county with the exception of Leavenworth Police Department. That is Sheriff's Office, EMS, Baser, Lansing, Tonganoxie PDs, Kansas Highway Patrol when they're operating in the county, all the township fire departments, and the City of Leavenworth Fire Department on first aid calls, as well as emergency management. It's a busy group of people down there. And for the Sheriff's Office alone, more than 19,000 dispatches were made in 2018. Everybody we dispatched for together, it's almost 55,000 in 2018. So many dispatch calls that were put out. So they are extremely busy. And I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it 100 times again. It is the toughest job in the Sheriff's Office to be a dispatcher. The average time spent on the phone getting information on a call is a little over 3 minutes. That's from the phone ringing to the dispatcher picking it up. A lot of times, 3 minutes sounds like a long time. You have to remember that they're trying to settle down people who are nervous, scared, injured, that type of thing, and to try to elicit the information they need in order to get first responders where they need to be. Our officer response time has improved greatly over the last couple of years, and right now from dispatch to arriving on scene is a little over 7 minutes. So in a county this size with the number of cars that we have out, I think that's very good. Patrol investigations. Patrol is obviously the most public face of local government. We're out driving around in the blue cars in uniform advertising who we are. And in doing so, we try to interact well with the public. Not every interaction goes well, or as well as we would like. But by and large, we have a good relationship with the public. It is my goal to increase the number of patrolmen in the patrol division and to increase the number of investigators in investigations. Drug investigations continue to rise, increase, as well as general investigations. Where you have drugs, you have property crime. And so we need to throw more resources at that. Likewise, in regards to patrol, we essentially have 4 patrol districts. When I started in 1992, we had 2 patrol districts. Our population has grown considerably, and we haven't been able to keep up with that growth. There are some days where we are able to have 5 or maybe a supervisor out there with it to make it 6, but in general, it's 4 districts that we are running, and that creates problems. So that is a goal for this year as well. Another goal for patrol is to reestablish a K-9 unit. 2018, we had several instances where a K-9 was needed, and we relied on area agencies. Lever Police Department being one of them, Shawnee Police Department being the most requested one, Bonner, Kansas Highway Patrol. Our K-9, most recent one we had, we retired medically, and it's been about 2 years ago. So there is a void there, and our intent is to fill that void. And as I mentioned, we do have a part-time animal control position now in 2018, and we are working to stand that unit up. Jail, probably the other biggest operation in the sheriff's office. Our population continues to increase. 2017, our ADP, or our average daily population, was about 135. In 2018, it was closer to 150. This is not necessarily taken into granted the Wyandotte County and the Douglas County holds that we have. Douglas County, we haven't held for them in quite a few months. And then Wyandotte County is typically 10 or less that we hold. So most of these are local cases that are filling my jail. And reasons for that vary. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to get them to court through motions on the defendant's side. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get it going for sentencing or whatever else. So we are actually holding them longer. Problem with that is the longer we hold them, the more discourse there is with the inmate in there. We're not set up like a penitentiary where there's programs and basically areas to get out and stretch their legs and engage in other activities. Typically in a jail setting, they are locked down in a pod their entire day. And so they begin to act out. And we have seen more and more lawsuits regarding confinement, that type of thing. They've all been, I won't use the word frivolous, but they've all been unfounded in the courts, and we're comfortable that we are operating a constitutionally based jail. This is just inmates in large acting out because they're unhappy where they're at. But the other reason is we have a change in the inmate population. Population's aging, which brings on different concerns, security levels. There is a transgender piece to it as well. And mental health is probably our biggest obstacle within the jail. So much so that we have 2 full-time mental health people, clinicians working in the jail. Our goal there is not to necessarily correct their behaviors or cure them. Our goal is to manage their behavior while they're in the jail so they are not abusive to other inmates and to staff, and that we can work with them. I do foresee a need to begin exploring either a remodel of current area to facilitate this special housing need, or perhaps explore a small expansion to facilitate this expansion need. JDC, they booked in 112 in 2018. The jail booked in 3,400 in 2018. And JDC, of those 112, 89 were from Leavenworth County. As you know, we also hold for Atchison County, and there are some times where we'll hold for an outside agency as well. Those are the large divisions. Again, we've talked at length on different things. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to field anything.
When you're talking about the part-time animal control, that just came into this year's budget, correct? So it's not like you've had time to it's having difficulty filling it, or is it's too
well,
soon?
there's a couple of factors. One being that I think it's important to find the right person to do that, and to find the right person with the who has the flex schedule that can work the hours and the times that we need them to work. The other piece of that is having a vehicle, and our intent all along was to down one of our current patrol vehicles and transition that into an animal control vehicle. there was a delay in our new cars coming in. So I would say within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll have an animal control vehicle ready. So it's definitely a first quarter goal to have that stand up.
I was going to ask you about that, Andy, with the, Ms. Black Deer with the Humane Society. Where are we at on working with them? I was thinking that they were going to help the Sheriff's Department with some of that. Is this part-time position to work with them or to replace what they were doing for us? Or
this part-time position is to free up law enforcement officers. And I looked at the stats this morning, and I can't recall the number off the top of my head, but I want to say it's close to 650 animal-related calls that we had in 2018. Not all of those were criminal. In fact, very few of those were criminal-related, abuse to an animal, that type of thing. A lot of these can be as mundane as, there's a turtle on my porch, there's a snake in my garage, all the way up to there's an aggressive dog. Animal calls, for whatever reason, are time-consuming. And by nature, they require a lot of follow-up. The goal was to free up certified law enforcement officers so they can continue to work on enforcing the law and keeping the public safe, and have somebody who is not necessarily a law enforcement officer to handle these types of calls. We realize that a lot of these are going to work hand in hand, and law enforcement is going to be present with animal control as to keep the peace or whatever needs to be done. But as far as Leavenworth Humane Society, they've been a great partner. They've supported us for many years, and they continue to be a great partner with us. They are a resource for us to take animals to. In fact, they'll come pick them up, but we don't have any other recourse. And then laws as well, we work well with them. So we have a good relationship with both organizations, and we want to continue to have a good relationship with both organizations because they will continue to be a great resource to us.
Okay, so they're more just a holding facility after you guys have picked up the animal? They don't actually...
They will actually hold, and they will also try to rehome when we're able to do that.
Okay, but they don't go on site to wherever the call was or anything like that? They do?
They have.
Okay. Okay. Something else I was going to ask you about is they used to call it the Citizen Ride-Along Program. You started that. I think you call it something else now.
That is a piece of our Citizens Academy.
And I know you haven't been doing that a long time, but are you starting to see a success, any results in that? I think it's important for things like that because, our culture hasn't glamorized police officers lately, and it's hard to get your positions filled if the kids don't see that as something they want to do. We used to do Buffalo Bill Days. The local pilots would do the Young Eagles program. We'd give free rides to kids, and a lot of those kids would grow up to be pilots. Same thing with 4-H Extension Department. We had a GIS program, and I had about 12 kids that started out when they were about 10 years old, teaching them, how to do mapping and GIS. And that was about 15 years ago, and I was talking to Beth Hecht, who was the director out there then, and I asked her how many of those kids actually went on to do anything with GIS, and she said every single one of them. So I think it's really important that you get these citizen programs, ride-along programs going.
Oh, absolutely, and that's a very important piece of the Citizens
and
Academy.
You initiated that, didn't you?
I'm sorry?
You initiated that, didn't you, just a couple of years ago?
Well, I mean, the concept isn't new, but as far as bringing it to the Sheriff's
But you
Office,
started it
yes.
back up?
Yeah.
How long has that been going now?
This year will be the fifth.
The fifth?
Fifth year.
Are you starting to see some results from that?
Well, it's, one of the things that I said earlier is that we enjoy a good relationship with the community, and I think that's true. Those who come into the class are either those who already support law enforcement or may just not understand exactly what it is that we do on a daily basis, and they have an inkling to know a little bit more, and we fulfill that inkling for them. And I would say that those who walk away from it remain to be very supportive. We hear from them on a regular basis. You run into them at the store, you get Christmas cards, that type of thing. It's definitely building a support system within the county. And what we want them to be at the end of it is to be our advocate. When they walk away from that class, that they can talk to 2 or 3 of their friends, who in turn talk 2 or 3. Or when there is an initiative that we need to build or remodel, they can explain why. And that's what we have seen thus far. Like I said, this year we had our first high school student in it, and I think that she really got a lot out of it. And it's just something that it takes a lot of work, but it's well worth it.
And the last thing I was going to ask you about is, I think I know the answer, but I think it's important for the public to see. The last board kind of brought up the question, is it necessary or beneficial for the county to be a member of MARC, Mid-America Regional Council? And I was just wondering if you could give us your thoughts on what MARC does for the Sheriff's Department, if you think it's beneficial to be a member of MARC.
Yeah, absolutely. In the sense of what does MARC do for the Sheriff's Office, 911 is administered through MARC. It's part of that region. Obviously, 911 is not going away. It's a very integral part of any government system. Support, upgrades, training. It's here, and they fulfill that need. And it's hard to place a value on exactly what they do for us, but they are a good partner to have in that regard. MARC has many tentacles. You know, it does different things, and I can't speak for what it may do for roads or whatever else, but on the public safety side, it is absolutely necessary.
I'd also like to recognize the Sheriff's Department for your level of community involvement and participation in the different programs and services, the amount of time that you guys spend on supporting local nonprofits and prevention of child abuse, suicide, all those things. That's something else that you didn't have on your list, or things that you do that community outreach that also I think helps with people really recognizing and understanding how important and valuable you are.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that is an important aspect of what we do. Who is the police? We are the police. Who is the community? We are the community. That being that we are part of the community which we serve, and we want to be have a relationship with them. And I'm always just overwhelmed when the call goes out that, you know, there's a March of Dimes run, or there's a torch run, or there's something. Just the volunteers that come out, and they're doing it on their own time. A lot of times they're giving money out of their own pockets. That's the people that I want working for me, because they make me proud and they represent this community very well. So thank you.
Any more questions of the Sheriff?
I have none.
Well, thanks, Sheriff, for everything you do.
Thank you.
Would Major Shirley like to come up and follow up? Okay, just so you're okay with it. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Andy.
We are ready for the treasurer.
Not particularly.
Thank you.
State.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Probably too loud sometimes. I'm Janice Van Paris. I'm the county treasurer. I've been with Leavenworth County for 17 years, and the last 6 have been as county treasurer, and I'm serving my 2nd term, which is a countywide elected position. I have a handout here for you to review just to kind of go along, and if you have any questions, just let me know and we can stop. The first page is basically a flow chart of all of the positions and the employees in the county treasurer's office. We have 2 locations, the annex in Tonganoxie, and of course here at the courthouse. Including myself, we have a total of 20 employees. I have 1 vacancy, and 2 of those are part-time positions. Page 2 is basically an outline of what the county treasurer does. There's a combination of state functions and county functions. I won't go through each one of them, and this is by no means all-inclusive. This is just what I could come up with off the top of my head. But I do have a summary of the 2018 transactions, and in motor vehicle transactions, we did 102,771 motor vehicle transactions, and we had 1,842 commercial vehicle transactions for a total of 104,613. The annex did 5,416 driver's license renewals, which averaged about 22 and a half, if you can have a half a person, but an average of 22 and a half people per day. So they do a great business out there. We get a lot of people from other counties that go to the annex for renewals. The next page, page 3, is information on the tax year for 2017 that was processed in 2018. The Treasurer's Office processed 58,227 tax payments, of about 15,000 that were a batch file and uploaded. But even though they were uploaded, they still have to be reviewed for accuracy and verified. During the 2018 tax year, we collected and distributed $96,182,752. You can see a percentage of the breakdown of what the distribution was. The county got 33% of that distribution, the cities and libraries 21%, the school 43%, the state 1%, and townships 2%. Now, of all of the 2017 tax levy that was set, there was a delinquency rate of about 4%, which was $1,101,973 that we still have not received for 2017. On the next page, page 4, is a printout of all of the sales tax that was received in the Treasurer's Office, the interest earned on that, and the bond payments made through the Treasurer's Office. In 2018, there was a total of $4,270,585 received, and I just made a bond payment that is due March 1st, which left a balance of $397,938. In the last month, I've transferred $2.75 million to our bond checking account for current projects going on in the Public Works Department. On page 6 is a review of the idle funds that I have invested. I think you can basically see what they are. We have a total of $33 million in idle funds invested. Now, this is basically funds that are made up of depreciation, equipment reserve, operation funds, and that's at Commerce. We also have funds at First State Bank, and we have funds at Exchange Bank. In 2018, we earned $533,684 in interest, and we plan to have at least that much by July 1st of this year. So interest rates are going up. So at least right now anyway. I do have one CD that I'm working on right now with Exchange Bank, and they are proposing a 4-year CD with 2.45% interest, which is good. Let's see. Page 7. Am I going too fast because you're not asking questions?
No, I'm just looking at all this money sitting there.
Well, it looks like a lot, but it's spoken for.
Yeah, now it is.
Page 7 is the road impact and improvement fees that are held at Citizen Savings and Loan. These are fees collected by the Planning and Zoning Office, and when money is spent out of these funds, it's paid for out of general, and then we do a wire transfer from Citizens to reimburse the general fund. Page 8 is basically the overall assets of the county as of the end of January. And like I said, it sounds like a lot, but they are spoken for funds, and it's $48,611,426. Is there any questions on the information?
No, I do know a lot of people that think it's a really good service you provide down at the annex to renew your driver's license. You just don't do CDLs, correct?
Right, right.
So, And a lot of people don't even know they can go there, so I guess I'm advertising right now for people watching to go get your driver's license renewed at the annex.
And interestingly, we get a lot of out-of-county renewals,
Yeah.
like Douglas County, Jefferson County, Wyandotte County, because, you know, we do provide a very good service, and they're in and out, and it's a great staff there, it really is.
Yep.
You can buy maps there too.
Yes, buy maps.
there.
You can buy maps there, you can register to vote there, so
Yep.
it's a great office, it's a great staff, just as the courthouse here, so. And I want to pay
Right,
tribute
right.
to
It's
Jennifer Scherbeck, my chief deputy. She's a real asset to the office and keeps everything flowing smoothly, so. The last page is, this is proposed legislation from the Kansas County Treasurers Association that they will be presenting to the legislature in 2019. And basically what it is a proposal to implement a new fee structure for motor vehicles. Based on this information that they sent out, there has not been an increase in motor vehicle fees since 1981. If this legislation is approved and implemented, it will eliminate what we call the facility fee, which was implemented in 2014, I think by the 2014 legislature. And that was basically to make up for funds that, I won't say, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. When we implemented the new 3M motor vehicle system in 2012, it created a lot of problems in that the transactions took a long time. We needed new staff. We had additional expenses, and I think people remember, you know, the people down the hallway waiting in line. So a lot of the bugs have been worked out of that, but for some reason in the way that the programming worked, the county treasurers were not receiving the amount of operational funds that they received in the old system. And so the 14 legislature implemented the facility fee. But my personal opinion is that it is not, it's not distributed fairly, because it's basically penalizing people that come to the county treasurer's office in our buildings. They have to pay a $1 fee at the courthouse, they have to pay a $2 fee at the annex. Many other counties charge $5. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to get by with just enough to cover the budget. And thankfully, this commission, or this, I say this commission, but last commission, they did fund the treasurer's office in a way that met the needs of the office. So anyway, this is legislation that will be presented in 2019, and it will make title fees $10 per title fee rather than you know, what?
It'll increase the money the county gets for title fees from $2 to $10.
But I'm not sure if we get the whole $10. Do we get the whole $10?
Yeah, make a
okay.
title. If you come in to get
Okay.
a duplicate title right now, it's $8 for the title, $2 for us. It would make it $20 straight across.
Okay.
But it won't cost the taxpayer anymore. It's just redistributing.
Just anybody that wants to get a duplicate title.
They'll be paying.
So if you lose your title, you gotta pay.
You're going to pay 20 instead of 10.
Right.
Don't lose your
Okay.
title.
And these will be statewide fees that will be uniform, and you won't have different counties paying different fees. Like Johnson and Wyandotte County, I think, pay a $5 per title fee, or facility fee, I'm sorry. And like I said, Leavenworth here at the courthouse, you pay a $1 fee. So all the counties in the state are charging something different, and this will eliminate that. And it should also fund the future needs of the treasurer's office as far as state equipment, because the state stopped funding computers, printers, and all of that, so.
Okay. And then the 3M program, that was the state, that was nothing to do with your office or this county.
Right, right,
We
that
were
was
just-
the
We were just
state.
victims.
Yeah, and luckily I wasn't the treasurer at that time, because, but Janice Young handled it
Yeah.
very well. She really did.
No, it was,
Yeah, so, but anyway, this is what is being proposed, and I just wanted to fill you in on that. So, any questions at all?
nope. hear all the good things about your office.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We have a great
Thank
staff.
Now we're ready for the county clerk.
The county clerk's office. We do a lot of business for the county, for the state, and for the citizens across Leavenworth County. One of the main jobs in the county clerk's office is accounts payable. We pay all the bills, process all the purchase orders for all the departments in the county. Last year, we did a little over 6,500 purchase orders. And we did change that process, which made it not only easier for my office, but for the different vendors and expenditures, because now we pay once a week instead of once a month. And so that did help process and hurry the payments along. Another big duty in the county clerk's office is the budget process. We work very closely with the commission along with all the departments and the county administrator to put together the budgets for the county commission. What usually happens is the county appraiser's office will certify the value to the county clerk's office 1st of June. And that then begins the budget process, because we have a valuation that we can work with determining a mill levy to fund all the departments. Currently, we have around a $54 million budget in the county. So not only do we work on preparing the county budget, but we also prepare the budgets for all the townships, for the Basic Community Library. We work with the Linwood Community Library. We will be doing the budget for Fire District Number 1. So, and we do that at no cost to these other entities. We do not prepare the city or school budgets, but all the budgets are submitted to us. We review them and then send them on to accounts and reports. So not only are we working closely with the county departments, we work with all the entities throughout the county in budget preparation and review. Once the budgets are set, then it kind of moves towards setting the levies. Because the county clerk's office is responsible for setting the levies and determining the tax roll, which is then given to the county treasurer's office. So in October, once we receive final valuation, we go in and set the mill levy, and that levy is determined by the amount of budget that is requested for any of the entities throughout the county. And as most people are aware, or a lot of people don't even realize that the county clerk's office does the accounts payable, the budgets, the tax roll, because most people associate us with elections. And that is a big duty of the county clerk's office. The state of Kansas has 105 counties. 101 of those counties, the county clerk serves not only as the county clerk, but as the county election office. We are number 6 in the county as far as population and valuation. The 4 larger counties have the county clerk's office, and then they have a separate office for the election division. But in 101 of the counties, both are performed by myself. So, a couple of years ago, the spring elections, which were for city and school, moved to the fall. That was in order to possibly increase turnout. If everyone was familiar with the idea that every November there would be an election, maybe it would increase the turnout. This just happened a couple of years ago, so I haven't seen a lot of increase yet, but it could possibly be. As we're aware, back in November of 2018, there was the question on the ballot to move from 3 to 5 commissioners. So on March 26th, we will have that election. And yesterday, prepared letters to send out to the voters in the 4th and 5th district with further information on how this election would work. So that will be on the 26th of March. Then we'll, of course, have our August and November, our August primary election and our November general election. We've also received word that there will be an election for one of our school districts, a bond question, which will be a mail ballot election. We have seen an increase in elections greatly, actually, over the last few years, because a lot of the school districts want bond elections done by mail ballot, or we've had sales tax initiatives that have taken place by mail ballot. So I may have 5 elections each year to move forward with. Now, the mail ballot election, which I am a proponent of, is done entirely within the office. Of course, our polling place elections, I really have to give kudos to all the people that volunteer to be our election workers, because we certainly could not do it without participation from the public in that respect. A little over a year ago, the county clerk's office also became responsible for human resources. Currently, Leavenworth County has 421 employees. Now that includes part-time or intermittent employees. We work closely, of course, with the employees on the inboarding, processing any of their benefits that they receive, and so that is another integral part of the county clerk's office. I think, what I want to say last is I use the word we quite a bit because I have such a great staff and a great bunch of women that work with me, plus all the departments. And I certainly could not do it without their assistance. And I appreciate all the departments out there, with patients with budgets or any sort of questions that we have. I think in all the offices in the county, probably the county clerk's office works closely with all the departments, whether it be budgetarily or human resource-wise. Does anybody have any questions?
I know since this, back on the election, the special election, I know it's very rare that this happens. We go from 3 to 5. There's actually one other county in the state that went from 3 to 5 commissioners this year too, but the question that comes up a lot is on the election cycle, the 2 new commissioners that are elected in the March election, when do they start? How long is their term going to be, and what does that do to the commissioner's cycle? How we used to have 1 and 2 offset every 2 years for a 4-year term. What does that do for these 2 new?
Yes, we do get asked that question quite a bit. So our 2 new commissioners in the 4th and 5th district will be elected on March 26th. They'll take office around the middle of April. And at that point, they are in office from the middle of April until January 1st of 2021. So in June of 2020, they will have had to file again for a 2-year unexpired term. So what's going to happen is in 2020, when we have the elections, we're going to have 2 unexpired terms, one for the 4th and 5th, plus we also have the 2nd and 3rd they'll be running for a 4-year term. So our 4th and 5th are going to run in 2020 for another 2-year term. And then in 2022, they will run again, and at that point be on a 4-year cycle. The way the statute reads is the 1st district, the 4th district, and the 5th district will eventually be on the same cycle, whereas and the 2nd and 3rd will be on alternate years. So it is a short term that they're running for this time. We do have 3 candidates that are on the ballot for the 4th district. We have a Democrat, a Republican, and an independent. In the new 5th district, we have a Democrat, a Republican, and 2 independents.
And the 2022 election will be redistricted
That's
because
correct.
of the census.
And that's something else that actually the county clerk works very closely with the GIS department, because all the information from the state comes into the county clerk's office to begin the census. So we pass that along to the GIS department, and we start working on blocks, what's called a census block. The townships send us that information, and we then deliver that also back to the state. So the census will begin in 2020. Actually, that's when the count will begin. We've already began a lot of the preliminary paperwork to get to that point. So in 2020, the actual count will begin. 2021, those figures will be released to the different counties and municipalities across the state. Then in 2022, the legislation will begin the redistricting process. And as you may not remember, but about 10 years ago, there was not any final decisions made by the legislation as far as where they felt that the boundaries for the representative districts or senatorial districts were, and that went to the judge to make that decision.
That's where the problem started.
Well, it's it is what it is. You know, the county had nothing to do with setting the representative districts across. So hopefully in 2022, the legislation will be able to set those districts. You know, there's been talk of bipartisan committees to step in to help with some of that. Also in 2022, the county, as Doug had said, will look at redistricting. Actually, we'll probably begin in 2021 once we receive the information, but we will then work on redistricting the county, the 5 county commission districts.
And like Janet was talking about, when the judge made that order, what made her job even more difficult is the judge used census tract boundaries for the legal descriptions instead of deed descriptions. So we had a lot of parcels that were split through the middle once you went to redistrict, which made it very difficult. So we hope that doesn't happen again.
That's right. We hope it doesn't. And, you know, Jeff was just a real asset to us, because you're exactly right. They would take and they would draw lines through the middle of someone's property, some through the middle of their houses.
Yeah.
And
We had to determine which bedroom they were in to see where they voted.
yeah, and so when you're looking at voter registration out there and trying to determine what district to put them in, it's difficult. It's a difficult process. So.
Janet, you mentioned earlier that you do the budgets for the townships. Now, what about the audits for the township? Do they use the same auditor that we use?
I know the county is required, of course, to have a county or an audit each year. The townships, if you reach, if they have expenditures of more than $450,000, they are required to have a yearly audit, just like the county does. I only have one township currently that is required to have county or a township audit, and that is Fairmount Township. A lot of the townships will have what's kind of like a partial audit where they will come in and look at their books, but it's not a requirement that is set. Of course, your libraries, because they have expenditures, they're required to have the audits, the school districts. So.
I think that's a very good idea. I think every township should have an audit, a yearly audit.
They can, it's their choice, but it is not required until they reach that expenditure of the $450,000. And actually, that was raised. It used to be $250,000, and then it was raised.
Well, they do handle a lot of money. I just think they need an audit every year, but it's not up to us, I guess.
No, they're at their own. It's an elected board, and so we do work closely with all of the townships. But it is elected board. They do get to decide the money that they need throughout the year. The townships, the majority of the townships do the fire control for that township, plus they also maintain the cemeteries, abandoned cemeteries, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't have any other questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Marlboro.
IT. Hello, Larry.
Good morning. I suspect you already know what my main objectives are, but the IS Department, Information Systems, is responsible for the information technology assets of the county, which includes the communications infrastructure, servers, workstations, computer workstations, copiers, printers, fax machines, telecommunications equipment, and scan projectors, etc. We handle help desk operation, which is a couple technicians, which provides support to county offices in the use of this technology. We handle procurement. We budget for, buy the equipment for the county offices. We take care of the equipment while they're using it, and we handle the disposal of it when they're done using it. So cradle to grave on all this equipment. We administrate the various servers for the county agencies, which include servers of database servers, file servers, mail server, etc. We administrate the network accounts for the county. We administrate the network infrastructure for the county. We handle all the backup administration, which is backing up everybody's valuable data. We implement and maintain internet-facing services such as websites, intranet sites, FTP sites, the social media sites, and so forth. We maintain and support audio-visual equipment, sometimes better than others. I apologize right now for the 2 feedback bursts we had to suffer earlier. We support the telephone system, which is a voice over IP system that went in several years ago. We implement and enforce policies to include acceptable use policies, network security policies, and other county directors regarding information technology. And finally, act as a liaison between county agencies and outside agencies for technology issues. Recently, the Sheriff's Office had acquired its own technicians, so that would be the one exception where they handle some of their own technology support and work without our complete support there. We still assist them as necessary while they get going. This change just began about a month ago, so it's still in its birthing process. So that's the main function of the department. Would you have any questions of me?
Do you tap our phones occasionally?
We never tap your phones. We never tap
Sure.
the phones, ever.
Okay.
One thing I would also add is there's other duties that the department handles, but I wouldn't be comfortable discussing them in a public meeting. But we are here to secure everybody's data. And I will point out that it is everybody else's data. We administrate your data, clerk's data, and so forth. It's not our data. The county website, we administrate it and host it, but it's not our data. We publish what anybody else wants published. So we don't really create information ourselves. We're just taking care of everybody else's information. GIS data, that's GIS departments, but we take care of protecting that data. Sheriff's office used to be protecting theirs, now they protect it themselves. So we are also the guardians to try to keep security high at the county and keep unauthorized access to data at a minimum, preferably zero. Anything else I can do for you?
I would like to see an update to the county website.
Homepage.
I had heard that. I heard that.
The homepage.
Pardon?
The homepage you're talking about.
Well, yeah, it's just the way that it's set up. The use, it's not.
User friendly.
You're not going to
It's
say
not as-
user friendly, are you?
Well, it's, yeah, that's what I'm kind of going to say, is that it's not as user friendly as 2019 should offer. How's that? To be diplomatic. I mean, it works, but it's.
In defense of the county's website, over the years that we've had it, the county has invested virtually $0 in that website. The funding has never been present to do something such as Wyandotte County's website was very popular with the former administrator. We looked into what it would cost to implement something like that, and it was going to be around $75,000 just to get started. That put a stop to the conversation very fast. So whenever we looked at anything to do that was a little better, we always ran into a funding issue. Right now, we're spending nothing. So that's really hard to compete with as far as the quality.
Didn't we just transfer $40,000 to the tech?
ROD tech.
Would you like to maybe transfer that to the IS department and we'll see what we can do with that money? No?
I'd like to talk about it.
Yeah, I would like to have it discussed. I mean,
Let's put that on the agenda.
There we go.
That's something we need to talk
Absolutely.
about, because, we also answer to the people who pay their taxes and that want to
Sure.
access that website and get information, and now we're live streaming from it. I mean, I just think that there's things that we could do to make it a little more user-friendly. That's
I'm right
just my
with
personal
you.
opinion.
I'm right there with you, Commissioner. I just want to be upfront about the money. And it's always about money, I think, at the end of the day.
Can solve
There's a lot
any
of wonderful
problem if
things
you
we
throw
can
enough
do
money at it.
with funding. But there,
But that's it, thank you.
We'll get a lot of positive feedback about the new YouTube feeds.
you have the
now.
live stream, now that you're
Right.
actually live streaming it instead of delayed.
Yeah.
That, by the way, about the funding, that we spent, I think, a little less than $3,000 two years ago, wasn't it? So that also was a very budget-minded decision. And the product is, I'm impressed that it works as well as it does, considering
done a
how
great
little we
job,
spent.
right.
So I was really surprised. But we do have a history of doing things as cheaply as possible in the IS department. We safeguard money, and we don't spend it unless we're forced to. It's a long-time tradition at the county, and we adhere to it very strictly in the IS department.
Yeah.
I
Everybody
believe
likes it.
Everybody can attest to that, and all the department heads will probably swear to it as well, as they've had trouble getting me to spend money on many occasions over the years.
Yeah, try getting new stuff out of the shop
You did get new stuff eventually, though.
after I leave.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry.
Last but not least, Public Works.
Oh, we got registered deeds too, I think.
Oh, did I miss Richard?
They added it.
Yeah, they added
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Late.
Not on mine, but.
It wasn't on
Right,
mine
it's
either.
here. Brought in backups too.
I asked each of the division superintendents to come in and give just a brief presentation on their areas of public works, because it is such a large department with a diverse background of duties.
Mhm.
Are we actually going to get the ice tonight, Aaron, you think?
What's that?
Are we actually going to get the ice tonight, you think? That
I
we were
don't know.
supposed to get last night?
Kim had just released something little bit ago that looks like we're going to be in that possibility of it, but it's Kansas. It could be 70. You never know.
No doubt.
All right, good morning. This is the division of, well, we have 6 divisions within the Department of Public Works. This is our presentation for our division introductions. So a quick department overview before we get started. We have 6 divisions. We have buildings and grounds, engineering, fleet, road and bridge, solid waste, and surveying. Approximately 84 employees, 700 miles of road, 150 bridges, and we have over $12 million in our budget.
My name is Aaron Yoakum. I am your Buildings and Grounds Superintendent. Myself and 4 other employees that are full-time and 3 part-time employees take care of all your buildings and grounds, as well as any of your subcontracted, custodial, and special projects. We manage all 9 buildings with the grounds with them. The 3 sewer districts are under me. My budgets are listed up above. Projects that we have upcoming for the 2019 year are the Justice Center. We're replacing a large amount of carpet. We also are going to be doing the north side of the buildings, parking lots, and looking into an expansion on 305. The Justice Center, we're converting over the old U-shaped lights to an LED light to become more efficient as well as heat efficient. The Justice Center fire alarm, which started in 2019 or 18, is wrapping up on the replacement on that. The courthouse sidewalks, we have budgeted money for the 2019 year to replace and work on that. We're doing a planning and zoning update upstairs, as well as the additional commissioners' offices in the BOCC, and the EMS2 update is still continuing from 19. Our duties are your general maintenance, your special projects that you add, snow and ice removal on our buildings, and your general HVAC and electrical.
Any questions of Aaron?
Nope.
How's the annex project? The EMS building, it used to be the old annex.
The EMS2 update, is the garage is completed. The interior is almost completed. They'll be moving on to the exterior, removing the bottom 4 feet of the facade and then replacing it with a stone due to the rust that was damaged around the building. They'll start working on that as soon as the weather starts breaking up a little bit due to the fact that it's getting that stick-on stones facade.
Right. I wish we'd have done that on the annex building because it's starting to get some salt.
If you would like us to look into it for the 2020, we can, sir.
I think we're probably going to have to. It's going to rust.
Well, then that will be a
Keep that in
priority.
the back
We'll
of your
put
mind. That'd be low-hanging fruit, though, so it can get cut pretty easy. So, yeah, you probably ought to throw it in there.
Will do. Is there anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
Great job, thanks.
$10 a square foot.
So the next division we'll review is engineering. My name is Sarah Schaefer. So engineering is under the Kansas Licensed Professional Engineering aspects that's for our department. We have 3 full-time employees, 1 part-time shared employees that we share with the surveying division. Part of the duties and responsibilities of the engineering area is to maintain the county roads, bridges, and culverts. So under that is the feasibility and maintenance planning reports, investigations, data monitoring, the supervision of the construction, repairs, surfacing, resurfacing, maintenance of any roads, bridges, or waterways, infrastructure, or anything pertaining to the rivers, streams, and water courses. We additionally have public support. There's public hearings and meetings that are required, issues and inquiries that we deal with. We get those via email and or phone call, as well as walk-ins, as well as safety investigations that are requested by the public. Right-of-way planning and development, this is with relation to plats and subdivision review, local area planning, and funding applications. So this would be with our state and local, as well as Federal Highway Administration funding would fall under that. Engineering support for Public Works Department, there's database management and maintenance, inventory maintenance of structures, accessories, and conditions within the roads and the right-of-ways. We're going through a major update of that particular database over the last 18 months, so we should be going into the digital age fairly soon with our PubWorks mobile application. Design, project planning, review, and contract administration. And then after that, of course, is the construction side of that, the construction maintenance, observation, and inspection. Additionally, we have failure assessment and field design, research and development of materials, methods, and practices, and land acquisition for future improvements. Our interdepartment support is with our facilities and projects permitting, so you may see that with buildings and grounds type of projects, project feasibility review and design investigation. So that's with any of our other projects that are not directly under Public Works that we're requested to look into for budgetary as well as feasibility, if it can be done. If it can be done, what has to be done and who has to be involved, as well as grant preparation and planning. So there's many grants that are available throughout our divisions as well as other departments that we've been requested to look into. These range from anything that has to do with roads and road right-of-way to buildings to stormwater type of aspects. So that is the engineering division review.
Any questions, Sarah?
All right.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Bear with me as I kind of stumble through this. I'm not too up on public speaking, but I'm Chris Collins, Superintendent of Fleet Operations. Currently, we're funded for 8 full-time employees, 1 part-time. We currently have 2 openings. Lost 1 employee recently in the parts room, and then we have a heavy vehicle tech that we have yet to fill. The part-time employee we're hoping to get in during the summer, work with our local tech schools, possibly get somebody in during the summer, get them acclimated into the county environment, and possibly hire them on full-time down the road. Currently, we handle all repairs to about 200 pieces rolling stock. We have the other accessories that go along with those, spreaders, the plows, and whatnot. We operate on a budget of about $575,000. Our 2 biggest, we provide service, our 2 biggest users in the county are the Public Works, Sheriff's Department. We handle all maintenance, all repairs, upfitting the new sheriff's vehicles. So that's pretty much all I have at the moment. Is there any questions?
On your 1 part-time employee that that you're working with technical schools, does the county have a program that that we could maybe pay for schooling on some of these people if they work for us?
Well, I think in EMS you see that we sponsor people into their program to get them trained, so that kind of is building employees for us in the future. It's something we could look into. A little bit different time commitment for the tech school versus the EMT training. Right. But that's something we could work with, see how Jamie's program works, and look into doing something like that. But cost-wise and time commitment-wise, it'd be significantly different than what the
it's just the industry we're talking about, like equipment dealers and stuff. They really do a good job of sponsoring people to go to school and purchasing tools and stuff like that, but there's a commitment for them to work for so many years.
And then we've also got, a lot of guys will get a little bit of training, and we got to deal with railroads in
right.
the Kansas area also.
I've been there, and all of a sudden you get a 2 weeks notice, and you say, "What's it going to take to keep you?" Well, you can't even come close. Right. So I know what you're up against. I just didn't know if there's some way that we could come up with a program that we could help you out there. So. All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Vincent Greer with Road and Bridge.
How are you today?
Good, doing good.
I'll ask you tonight, maybe.
Well, they've been predicting this for the last 2 nights, and thank goodness
Still don't make it any
showed
easier.
up. So, yeah, exactly. I oversee approximately 48 employees. That's what we have budgeted for. I have one opening right now. And like I said, hopefully we can get that opened here sometime. Notches Weed, they pretty much, they spray the whole county. They do spray some of the state roads. We have 2 spray trucks that do operate this whole county here. We have 2 boom mowers that go along and try to get the branches that are overhanging. We hire 3 to 4 part-time mowers during the summer to help mow the right-of-ways for us. We try to get them a little later so they can mow into the winter so we can get that last cut after it stops growing. They do sell chemicals down there at the shed. We put it out for bid, and like I said, we try to get enough chemicals in for the year. Majority of the time we do have to reorder. For the maintenance crews, we have 17 plow trucks. We have 10 graders, which take care of each district or whatever, each township. Thank you. And they're pretty much broke down in the area of almost 50 miles a grader, so it does take a while to get over these townships. As you can tell, we had a unthaw this weekend. We had 2 days of 60 degrees, and this is what happens after you have a snow. All this moisture freezes first, and then 2 days of 60 degrees, everything's coming up. And the more traffic you have on the road, the more bad spots you have. So that's what we have been doing for the last 3 or 4 days. I've had guys out there, started Saturday night, going out and trying to fix some of these and make them passable. So it is an ongoing thing. It's just part of the cycle of winter. So, you try to get over as fast as you can. You try to identify which ones are the worst. That's what we're doing right now. Snow and ice, when we get a predicted, 30%, that's usually we're going to get some kind of weather, and we'll split the crew up, and we'll send half the crew home at 11:30, and they'll come back in at 7:30. A lot of times it is just a watch and wait, but sometimes it's a half crew, daytime crew. We have probably about somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 guys out there, crewmen out there working on the roads. At night, it's half of that, probably seven crewmen out there. And we're trying to keep the major roads open first, and then we work out from there. Sometimes, it doesn't seem like we're getting to them fast enough, but believe me, everybody's dedicated to the job, and they're trying to do the best they can. Sometimes it just takes time. It's generally 2 days before we can get over all routes. We do take care of approximately 418 miles of gravel road, 294 miles of hard surface, and we have about 10 miles of dirt road. So we do still have some dirt out there, but like I said, we spend a lot of time putting gravel down on these roads. We try to keep them in shape. We try to get over everything at least once a month. That's how we try to do it. Unfortunately, there will be times there's going to be emergencies. There's going to be soft spots. We're going to have to jump off our regular routine and jump over and get the other ones, and then we just proceed from there. Supervisors are out every day. They're checking all their routes, all their townships. And like I said, we have to identify what's going on at that time. So there is times where, yes, we probably haven't got to your road for a week or two, but emergencies, will trump that. We're working with about a $12 million budget, of course. Like I said, summertime is our chip seal season and asphalt patching season. We try to have a 3-year cycle is what we're trying to get into, because just about after that 3rd year, it's ready to be sealed again. And we got to get it sealed up to keep the moisture out of these roads, because a chip seal road, you have your aggregate bases down below, and that's just a cause for failure. And, we do have a lot of failures out there right now, but good thing is we can patch those back with that, take the soft spot out, patch them back with asphalt. That's what we do. We try to get anywhere from 80 to 100 miles of sealing done in a season. And of course, that's all slated on weather, breakdowns, you know, just and the condition of the roads that you have to asphalt patching. We do a lot of our asphalt patching in areas that aren't going to be chip sealed for that year, just to keep them in that 3-year rotation, so we don't get a major failure. But unfortunately, it does happen. Heavy traffic, it wears on them chip seal roads pretty good. Bridge maintenance, we do have a crew out there, specialty crew. They do bridge maintenance. They pretty much take care of the potholes. They try to go around and they try to identify when every 2 years we have our bridges inspected by engineering staff. So the bridge crew, they try to identify anything that may raise a problem in the near future. So that's what they do during the day. They also help build roads. They're the ones that will base a road to be either asphalted or chip sealed for that season, depending on what's slated. We have, they do new install roads extensions too. They do several of them. I know we did, I think last year, 3 miles of it last year. And I've noticed there's a few spots that are showing through, but unfortunately that's what happens. In a real world, you would let that set 90 days, but for our environment here, we don't have that time. We have to get them as soon as we can. We'd like to set them for 30 days, but you know, sometimes weather depending. We do have a sign crew. They go out and they run the areas. They usually take a township and go through it, look at it. They'll go to the next one, and believe me, we spend a lot of money on damage and graffitied up signs. There's a lot of stolen signs. I think just 2 weeks ago, they had 147th there. They stole every stop sign in there, and then we put them back. Then next day we went out, they were all turned around the other way. So they're kept busy. Plus, they do replace a lot of mailboxes too. We get them heavy wet snows, and we do damage a lot of mailboxes. With that, I guess any questions?
Last year, you guys did a reduction in force. Do you need that position back?
Well, Commissioner, the only reason why I would like to have that position, we could definitely use it, and for night snow removal, it's such a small crew.
Summertime too.
It's summertime, and that's what I'm saying. Summertime, I could use, for a grader, another grader out there on the road, because that's one's usually not manned, and it takes most all of our crews to do chip seal and asphalt, so that leaves.
Right.
I think the south crew will have usually one grader that can keep going, but the north crew, they're short what the south crew is, and they can't keep a grader going. So
I spent a lot of years out there, and I never did think that we needed to RIF anybody, and I was kind of shocked when you RIFed an employee, because there is always something to do there.
I agree with you.
I'd like to see you get that position filled again, because we've got plenty to do.
We do.
So.
And I know we spend a lot of time picking up trash and tires. I think in the last 3 months,
yeah,
we've found.
Maybe we could shove that over on Tammy's crew. Maybe.
Well, unfortunately, we picked up several spots that had 300 to 500 tires. People are just dumping them over the bridge. So I mean, that's becoming a big problem. Right. I think they're charging us $3 a tire to get rid of them. So it's starting to get into a lot of money.
Yeah. But anyways, well, I feel for you. Been there, done that.
I know you have.
Any questions, Vince?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Vince.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vince. Tamara.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tammy.
My name is Tammy Saldivar, and I'm out at Solid Waste. This year I will have been with the county for 30 years. We have 7 full-time employees. We were granted 1 part-time employee this summer, so we're going to try that. to help with the summer. The programs we have are recycling. We do aluminum, tin, plastic, metal. The metal brings in money to our department. The cardboard, we bale it. It brings money into our department. The aluminum cans. Our department, like everybody else, has a great staff, and they've been pulling all the metal out they can. They keep the facility clean so that it's not a dump. It's a transfer station.
Okay.
We have household hazardous waste that we accept. In 2016, March of 2016, KDHE approved where we could accept sharps into that program. So that's been a big thing. Nobody in our county had anywhere to take their sharps, and we have a lot of diabetics here. The first year we had 138 pounds incinerated, so that's been Mike Spickelmeyer, when he was here in 2014, we worked together and implemented a county-wide cleanup because it was always just the city or of Leavenworth or the city of Lansing, and now we do a county-wide one, so that's been a great asset.
What do you do for that? Have free dumping for one day, or?
We started that way. We did like the Friday, Saturday, but now we do like a 2-week period in April, like from the 1st to the 14th. We get an address list from the appraiser's office. They come in, they show us our ID, and we can highlight it. So each household is allowed to bring one load.
For free?
Yeah. It helps for staff because when you have all those vehicles just rolling, we're dead tired by the end of that day. So this kind of spreads it out, safer. Not everybody trying to get there, unload, go home, load back up, come back. Because they were lined up to Crossroads Church, so this kind of helps alleviate that a little bit.
Good deal. Safety
all the way around. We offer free brush the first Tuesday of every month, free tires the second Tuesday, just as an incentive for our residents here.
Is there a limit on tires? Is there a limit on tires?
There are 10 standard size off rim.
Off the rim?
Off the rim.
They have to be off the rim?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the ones that are on the rim is the one Vince is talking about picking up on the road.
Well, you can bring them on rim, but we're going to charge you that rim removal fee, but just not for your tire.
And then you're going to turn around and sell the rim for scrap and make money.
Yes.
Okay, I see how it works.
Yes.
It's a business.
We have required permitting. The stormwater is due every March. Our household hazardous waste permit is due every June. The city's grit, I have to make sure that they have their permit in to bring their grit to us. That's due in December. Composting is December, transfer station is December. I'd like to invite any of you out that haven't been out there, come take a look, see what you got in your county, because there are still so many people that don't realize we're there. It's just amazing.
Well, on your county-wide cleanup, you offer it for the, how long you offer it?
The April 1st through the 14th.
Okay, 2 weeks for the whole county. We ever thought about using a voucher slip or something for each county resident to have, and they could use it at any time, so it wouldn't cause you all them problems with an influx of people showing up at the same time?
We looked into that. It was going to cost a lot. This way, if we just get the program on the computer from the appraiser's office, we just highlight it.
What was the cost from? What was the cost? What was going to cost so much?
To mail them out. It was like...
Can't we put them in them little green envelopes we send out to everybody saying pay your taxes, and then maybe this will say, hey, you can pay your taxes, you get this little free trip to the transfer station. Get something.
I'm sure we could do something like
I
that.
mean, because we mail out to everybody. I mean, that's not going to cause the postage to go up. I think it'd just be easier that the people could choose what time of year they done their cleanup, and then everybody gets something out of it.
A once a year free token.
Yeah.
Good idea.
That's just my thought. I mean, we can talk about that later.
Tammy, how have your operations changed since the city opted out of bringing the city trucks out there? Is that
Well,
making
it's really too soon to tell.
Mm-hmm.
But last year in January, we had 1,771 tickets, and this year we had 1,705. So not a lot. They bring 5 or 6 trucks in 4 days a week. We still have over 100 customers through there.
Okay. That's why I was curious.
The city's still using?
They did use us in January.
Or in climate weather or something? Or when?
And they use us on their first Saturday.
Okay.
So we'll have to wait a while to see how that plays out.
We had some bad weather too, which I was surprised the numbers were so close because it seemed like we were so much slower this January than last, but apparently not. That or we're just getting used to it.
How'd your project turn out there? I haven't been out there since you done the concrete pave.
You should come. It's wonderful.
I don't have any reason to go out there.
To see the concrete.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, all of our customers and employees are really happy that they're not getting as much dust.
That needed to be done a long time ago. Should have been done years ago. But then we would probably have to replace it by now. How's the floor holding up?
It's holding. We're going to have to address it. There's some spots where the rebar's coming up. It's lasted longer than predicted.
Right. So, okay.
They have a new product out that we were going to try. We haven't ordered it yet to see if that might help stretch it a little longer.
Buy some time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Wayne. How are you?
Very good. How about yourself?
All right.
My name is Wayne Malmakoff. I'm the county surveyor. I am a licensed land surveyor in the state of Kansas, which as required by Kansas statutes. Leavenworth County provides a unique surveying opportunity for our private surveyors as well as the engineering firms. Even though we are on a Lambert system in surveying, we have unique features in Leavenworth County which makes it a little difficult for them to work with it. We have a government fort base or territory that is dealt with, which private surveyors, for the most part, do not go on or are involved with. We have a Delaware Reserve line which runs at an angle through the county, which causes land boundary issues. And if those particular issues are not addressed, they can cause some major problems with land transfers. We have the second standard parallel, which runs east and west, basically through the middle of the county, which also causes issues on the north and south ends of the county. They do not line up, and they can be off as much as half a mile. So those things aren't aware. Those are things that people don't think about, which we have to contend with in Leavenworth County. And then one of the largest, biggest ones that obviously everybody can see is that we butt up against the Missouri River and the state of Missouri. So just as an overview, those are the things that the surveyors have to contend with in working within Leavenworth County. We have a great batch of local surveyors that we work with. No issues whatsoever with any of the local surveyors or companies. Those that come in from outside, we educate them real fast on how to get the job done correctly. As a county surveyor, we maintain all the county records. Those records date back as far as 1850s. Leavenworth being one of the oldest, well, being the oldest county in the state, and Leavenworth being the oldest city in the state. We've got some records which are quite historic. We also maintain the road records. These are the original road record dedications that established the road right-of-ways. They date back from the 1850s to the present. We'll also maintain a database of all surveys, both recorded and unrecorded, on private lands as well as public lands. We have a database of over 12,000 of these surveys, which are available to the public online. Leavenworth County was one of the first counties in the state to do this. We've had this online now for about 9 years. We also have a database which we maintain for the public lands section corners. These are the dividing original GLO corners, which were divided back in the 1850s as well, with the original subdivision for the county of Leavenworth. As a county surveyor, we provide support for the Public Works Department in the reviews and the writings of all legal descriptions for both project and county properties. We will also do the field work for any field projects that may arise for Public Works. This will include right-of-way staking, road bridge staking, topography surveys, design surveys, property staking on county properties as well. We provide research and support for road vacations and dedications. We have a lot of open right-of-way sections throughout the county. As either we discover those or as private citizens discover those, and they can request and petition to have that vacated. We'll do the necessary research to see if it's in the best interest of the county to do that vacation and that we protect the adjoining landowners. If so, we'll schedule a public hearing, bring it before the board, and you will make that final decision. We will do survey plan review on consultant projects. This is to ensure that our land corners are protected and perpetuated for future use, and that the proper control is on these plans so that the project can be built correctly and is in the proper position that it's supposed to be in. Because we all know roads are exactly where they're supposed to be. And we also will maintain what county survey equipment we have. As a joke, the survey department is one of the largest departments in the county, because you're looking at it. So it's a one-man operation. We have RTK static and global positioning equipment, which allows one-man operation, as well as robotic total stations, which will allow we to pretty much do almost anything as long as there's nothing in the way. We also have data controllers which go with that as well. Most of the time in the county surveyor's office has been reviewing surveys and plats that come through both the incorporated and unincorporated areas. By statute, all these have to be reviewed by the county surveyor or such appointed. This also includes any surveys and plats that come through the cities. So all those that are recorded and therefore some unrecorded, I review, send back for comments to make sure that they are done in compliance with Kansas minimum standards, as well as all the standards that Leavenworth County has as well. We offer support also to the public and private engineering firms. We get many phone calls a day asking survey questions, fence line disputes, property disputes. This guy's got a trash can on my property, what can I do, so on and so forth. So we offer those suggestions. As county surveyor, we do not survey private land, but we offer suggestions. We offer a list of private surveyors that work in Leavenworth County that they can go to for those consultations. We will review, obviously, all the final work that comes through prior to recording or final submittals. County surveyor also, we've offered a lot of support to other departments within the county. Register of Deeds, emergency management. We've done some work as far on FEMA properties, siren inventory, things of that nature. The GIS department we've also offered support with. Planning and zoning, we are involved in meetings for citizens that are planning to divide property, so we're heavily involved in those. We attend planning commission meetings. We also have done some work with concerning sales tax properties, making sure that we have proper legal descriptions for the properties that are going through some of the sales tax. We've been involved with fence viewings by statute for those, and we also offer support to the Kansas Department of Transportation as our right-of-way abuts state right-of-way. With that, if there's any questions, glad to answer.
When, say there's two different surveyors come up with two different locations of a property pin, who settles that?
What?
That never happens.
Okay, hypothetical situation. What if it did happen? Would you be the final say before it got recorded?
The final say would not come from the county surveyor. It would, by statute and minimum standards, I would facilitate between the two surveyors that have the dispute first. We will work that issue out together as much as possible.
Okay.
If it gets down to where we're talking, if we are talking about a land section corner, a public land corner, that determination will be made by me. I will make my professional opinion as to what that section corner of land will be. If we're talking about private property, that final determination would come through civil courts. If we cannot come through an agreement with arbitration between.
So do you have to go to court much?
The 9 years I've been here, I have not been to court.
Okay.
We've normally.
So nobody's called the county surveyor as a witness?
Not to this point.
Really?
Congratulations.
Well, you're lucky.
Not to say that it hasn't happened previous, but.
Probably going to start happening now that we announced it.
Now that you let the cat out of the bag.
I'm sorry, Wayne.
Out of all the section corners in the county, Wayne, off the top of your head, how many still don't have section corner reports or GPS? Do you know?
We are sitting probably at about 30% that do not have GPS coordinates on. As far as reports on those corners, I'd say we're probably at 20 to 25% do not have corner reports. That database admittedly is not up to date, so I don't have an up-to-date number for you, but that's where we're at. Most of those corners are probably going to be along the western and northern edges of the county.
And I know you usually pick those up as you go along, as the projects happen to be in that area.
Those are picked up either by myself or they're also picked up as surveys come in by statute. The surveyors fill out a state section corner report form. On those forms is a requirement that there is a state plane coordinate assigned to those. That's part of the database that I keep, so that I take a 50-year project of me going out to hit all these and try to condense it with help from the private surveyor.
I think I asked Cameron one time, he said if he had 200 surveyors, he could do it, the rest of them in a year, or it'll take him 200 years to finish them, so.
And many of these are, they're not the most accessible things in the world.
Kind of like paving a mile of road a year like we was doing. 500 years we'll have it all done. Any more questions, Wayne? Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
So that's the end of Public Works. If you've got any further questions, we're all still here. If not, we will move on. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so now we're register deeds.
Hi, Stacy.
Good morning.
Morning.
Stacy Driscoll, Register of Deeds. I've been in my position since 1999. It is an elected position. The Register of Deeds office is responsible for the recording and preserving of all land records to include deeds, mortgages, easements, plats, surveys, IRS liens, state tax liens, UCC filings, and military discharges. We file for veterans, and it's free of charge. I have 3 full-time employees and 1 1,000-hour employee, and again, like other other departments have stated, I have a great staff and we work well together. In 2002, legislation was passed for a technology fund for the Register of Deeds offices, and it was for $2 for each, or it was a $2 per page fee, and we began collecting that in 2003. In creating the bill, the Register of Deeds Association wanted to make sure it not only benefited my office, but other offices too. It provided for any money that we collected over $50,000 that we don't have earmarked can go transferred back to a fund under the county commissioners for other offices to use for technology for land records. And to date, I've contributed $509,000 to that fund for other offices to use. In 2014, legislation was passed to do away with the mortgage tax that was collected in our offices and any other documents that created liens. There was a tax collected. This was a majority of our revenue affected. Beginning January 2015, the mortgage tax would be eliminated over a 4-year period, and the recording fees would be increased to help offset it. Other changes included adding an additional $2 to our per page document fee. We already collect $2 per page for my tech fund, and now we're collecting an additional $2. And that goes, $1 of it is for the Kansas Heritage Trust Fund, and the other $1 is for a tech fund created for the clerk's office and the treasurer's office. And but when this was passed, it has caused a shortfall in revenue for Leavenworth County, as all counties in Kansas. Mortgage tax, let's see, and part like my technology fund, it creates about, or we collect about $100,000 from my technology fund. The Heritage Fund, that we bring in about $50,000 for that, and the clerk and the treasurer, we collect about $50,000, and that's split between them to use for technology purposes in their offices. Currently, we are working on back indexing old records. So whenever we have time in my office, the girls work on that. The 1,000-hour employee that I have, she does that. She does most of the back indexing for that. And also, there's legislation that's probably going to be coming up real soon for us to go to a flat fee, which will hopefully take care of the shortfall in revenue for our office. We've been working with a couple organizations, and we've done all of our research and background, so we're just waiting for them to take it forward, and so that will probably eliminate the shortfall. Let's see, what else? And the revenue that we collect is based off of recording fees, copy fees, subscription fees. We have subscription fees that people can purchase to access our software for researching. So, did you guys have any questions? I was told by a citizen out there that I was sitting next to that I better hurry up and make it short and sweet, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Say, a contractor, somebody files a lien on a property, do you notify the property owner?
No. I mean, generally, liens filed against properties are filed in the courts, mechanics
Okay.
liens.
But nobody can just come in and file a lien on a piece of property in your office without any proof?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really up to us to question. I mean, if people can come in and file liens, and it's, you know,
It could be frivolous and nobody checks
there's
it out?
nothing we can do about it.
Really?
Nope.
And the property owner may not know it?
Nope.
If you notarize a napkin, they're pretty much required to just record it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, so everybody needs to go check their deeds every once in a while, make sure nobody's done that.
They really just check it.
Well, we do have property fraud alert where people can go in and it's on the county's website, it's on the front page, where they can go in and sign up for it. So anytime something gets filed in my office, they'll be alerted through email, text, however they've.
Okay.
You still have documents stored at the salt mines still?
Well, they're in the caves in Kansas City. We took them out of Hutch and brought them up here, yeah.
Okay. A couple of years ago, we were talking about you guys maybe doing passports. Is that something you might want to look into again?
Jeffrey, you remember that? That was more like 2008 or 9, I think, is when I brought that up.
A couple of years seems like to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I had brought that to the board. It was 2008, 2009, because there are Register of Deeds offices that do passports throughout the county. But I had looked into it and brought it before the board, you know, that if it's something they would want me to do, because at the time, you know, the economy was, you know, at a downfall, and so just trying to generate more revenue, but they weren't really interested in it at that time, so we didn't pursue it. And, you know, there's a criteria, you know, you can't be within so many, you know, like the post office does the passports now. So it would have to be something that would have to be approved, whether it would get approved for us to do it or not, since we're so close.
I was thinking it's not a big revenue income, but for
No, and I think at
convenience.
the time it was like $25 that the counties get to keep, but I believe they've increased that to $35.
But I was thinking more of the convenience aspect of it for the public. Because if you have to get a passport lately, it'd be a lot easier to do it through Register of Deeds, I think.
Or the annex at Tonga. Anyway.
That's all I got.
Any more questions, Stacy?
No.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Commissioners have anything they've been doing here lately?
Just want to bring up, I went to the Easton City Council meeting Monday night. We're working on those FEMA lots that the county has in their name.
Mm-hmm.
The city wants to annex some of those because the water well for the city is on one of them. So we're working with FEMA, emergency preparedness, and planning and zoning to get those switched over into the city's name. They're also wanting to put a new city limit sign up, so I got them connected with the proper people at KDOT to do that. I met with a couple taxpayers over the 187th Street. You know, that came off the PRP plan, so we're working on different avenues to get that taken care of with them. And then this Friday, I'm speaking at the Lansing Leadership Groups meeting that they have, the annual one.
Yeah.
Clyde, I think, went last year. And since I did the GIS one previously, so they called me to do the commissioner one this time. Saturday, Senator Braun's having the town hall meeting.
Yeah, Lansing and one at Leavenworth.
Yeah, two of them. Yeah.
And then Lincoln Day dinner.
And then the Lincoln Day dinner is Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heritage Center.
Little Stranger Soup Socials coming up. Is that
February
next week?
11th, I believe.
Yeah, it's if you guys aren't familiar, Little Stranger Church out there is in a restoration project, and they have a pie social in the spring, and they're having a soup social next week.
There's
I think.
always pie there.
Yeah, and pie.
There's always.
There's two different,
For lunch and dinner.
there's a lunch and a dinner session, so.
Oh yeah, to break it up.
Very good food.
And then Fire District 1 is having a meeting 21st at the Lansing Middle School. to discuss the non-dissolution, I guess, of the fire district. That's about all I was wanting to point out.
Vicki?
Well, in follow-up with when Tammy Haim came before the Board of County Commissioners a couple weeks ago in public comment and spoke about the hemp, industrial hemp. And so she invited me and I accompanied her on a tour of the academy, which was very interesting. And if anyone is interested in that process, they should really go and just see the facility. She continues to ask that we might consider trying to look into it as the commission, but I think that I would like to see the Port Authority or LCDC kind of look at what the opportunities there might be in the hemp industry, because I think there are opportunities, and there's a small window of time that any individual who is interested in growing the hemp or in the processing of or distribution. The permits, I think they're supposed to be opening up on the 8th of February, and then there's less than a 6-week time frame for people to have the opportunity to obtain that permitting in order to do that work. So if there's any farmers out there that have been in Leavenworth County that have been considering this as a crop option, they probably ought to look into it sooner than later, and same as any other interest that anyone might have. And I don't know how you feel, my fellow commissioners.
Well, this is an agriculture paper. I mean, it's called Grass and Grain, but it's not grass you're going to think of here. But they're having a deal in Parsons, Kansas on it on the 20th.
The 12th.
The 12th, okay. And the farmers I've talked to are not interested at this time. I guess we need to reach out to the county extension office. You have Karen, and I don't know where they stand on this.
I believe that Tammy reached out to them, and they were not enthusiastic over becoming involved in the process.
Well, they would be more to be involved in the county commission, because like I said, the closest thing we do to agriculture is approve a noxious weed plan and to do a fence viewing.
Right.
And I have talked to several farmers, and they don't know a lot about it, but the Department of Ag has not put anything out there. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions. You know, what kind of spray chemicals can you use so far away from it in the farm program, subsidized crop insurance, subsidized or crop price support. There's just, there's such a risk in farming with, like I said, you can't, pull it up on your phone to see what the price of the day is, or what market you can get rid. Like I said, there's not, it's probably going to happen, and like I said, it's nothing anybody wants to jump in on a large farmer. I'm not saying a small scale farm could not benefit from this, but the larger farmers are all in the farm programs. They probably, a lot of them even probably purchased their seed this year for what crop they're going to plant.
Right.
That's the other thing, the time frame.
Right.
It's not a long opened enrollment thing here, and that just people just get nervous about knee-jerk reactions when it comes to their business. So, but that would be at the county level. It'd be the county extension office that should be maybe putting some informational meetings together and that, and then the Department of Ag really needs to step up for this year coming up to get the education out there on that and to get some markets established. Because there's not, like I said, the price, nobody knows any of this, and that's what I'm saying. I mean,
we can get 4-H involved, make it a project.
Yeah. Well, I think the Department of Ag and the Extension Office, and it's going to take a while to get off and running. I know Representative Dove, fought for this for several
Right.
years to get this going. So it's not going to take off overnight.
And I
Maybe
have
there'd be some incentives from the Department of Ag for people to
Right.
get started in it instead of investing their own money to risk it.
Oh, I understand. I just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of just bring
Right.
it back. I was there,
Right.
that she had come, and
And
So we
I
kinda
did
got
I did my due diligence, and I
Yeah.
went out and talked to several. And then, like I said, I seen that next week. I thought Tammy would be here today, and I thought I was going to give her that paper.
I'll
But
tell her that you have it, if I can
All right.
let her know. But it was just something to
Right.
bring forth. And if anybody's interested in seeing a little chunk of the hempcrete, I have a little chunk in my office that I brought home as a little prize for my tour. So it's rather interesting. It's just one of the applications for
it's industrial hemp,
industrial
correct?
hemp. Yes.
Okay.
Hurting into
It's industrial.
It's industrial hemp. But I was going to ask you, the ladies' night out, how did that go?
It was very packed. It was a really good turnout, and there were a lot of women there.
My wife
Just a
was there, but
handful of
she didn't
men.
say too much about it, so I figured it was a good time.
Yeah, it was shoulder to shoulder. It was shoulder to shoulder women, and there were, the food was great, and
Yeah.
there were
and,
good vendors there, the businesses
give
that
all
were
the
there.
Discounts for
Right.
stuff, yeah.
They were there, and it was a really nice turnout, and fortunately, it wasn't freezing cold that evening, and the weather had kind of cleared up a little, so it was a good evening. Thank you to the Leavenworth Times for sponsoring.
Yeah, well, they had a full page on it afterwards, correct?
Yeah.
And, so, but anyway, anything else?
No, he kind of,
Okay. Well, I went to Port Authority last week and went to Tonganoxie City Council meeting Monday night.
and I did go to Lansing City Council last Thursday evening.
And went to Linwood last night, and tonight's Bacers.
And tonight, I will be going to the Military Affairs Chamber of Commerce event at University of St. Mary.
Oh, that's good. And, well, nothing that this board needs to do on any of these things yet.
I think so.
So, and, Eisenhower. The Water District get a hold of,
Mr. Chairman, members of this commission, I was contacted yesterday by the field operator for Rural Water District Number 8 with respect to discussing the issue of the relocation of Rural Water District Number 8's line as it lies along Eisenhower Road. The district, of course, is very interested in cooperating and working with the county to ensure that that line is moved in a timely manner. Because of the size of the district, I basically brought that the county might wish to work with the district, provide some support in specifically the engineering work that's already been done by the county's engineers, to share that with the district so that they could move their line as quickly as possible. They'll need to do that a little bit later in the spring, but based on past experience, relocating a water line should be done as soon as it can be so that it doesn't impede the progress of the projects as it has in the past.
I'm gonna say I've seen a lot of orange and yellow flags, but I haven't seen any blue ones yet.
no, blue ones are out there because but not to where the water line's going to be.
in that area.
The water line's going to have to run through engineering. And like I said, there's some question on how much of the line needs to be moved, but water lines are in private easement, so the county's going to have to pay to move the water line. It's just how quick we can get it moved. I think everybody here wants to get the utilities moved as fast as possible to get this road, because we're not going to bid it till the utilities are out of the way.
Right.
So we need to do what we can to help the district get the water line moved. So, what does the water district? What do you feel the water district needs to do next for the next move here?
Well, with your permission, Commissioners, my thought was to discuss with Public Works reaching out to the Water District to answer that very question, Commissioner. As they relocate the line, there could be a timing issue with respect to the actual construction. It's indeterminate at this time as to what extent they would need to acquire new easements for the line, or whether their line could be relayed in the right-of-way that's going to be created for Eisenhower. But a lot of those answers are already there in the engineering data the county's collected and had created. I think it's just opening the door to have the county's engineering team work with the water district to facilitate that relocation.
Well, if it has to go back in private easement, this is going to delay the project by the time they get the easements.
But the sooner you start, the sooner it gets done.
Well, I know, but like AT&T and whoever, they're all going back in the county easement.
Yeah, I don't think they will. It's like 180 feet wide there.
And Commissioners, again, that's something that can perhaps be coordinated, is to, again, where that line is going to be relayed. If it could utilize either a utility easement that's being obtained by another utility provider, or whether it could go into the county right of way, that would significantly reduce the time and expense of relocation.
Okay. But the water district's probably still going to have to get a firm to design the project.
It would be up to the water district to actually design, and I would just venture to guess they would prefer to have that they design it themselves, but again, I think it'd be quicker and more efficient to have it done in a coordinated fashion.
And this water district will bid the work.
They do.
So, okay. Well, I'll be at that water board meeting on Thursday night. Any other business for the board this time? Then we stand adjourned.